Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brillman. I'm joined here by Solari, and we are yet again in the third day of LFL 2021, and we're seeing Misfits against GO. Hello there.
Hello, welcome. Hello, Brutal. Very happy to be here with you yet again. Let's see what we have today. We have a clash, to be honest, of two extremely powerful teams who are both 2-0 at this very moment. And frankly speaking, the forces seem to be pretty equal on both sides. It's going to be an interesting game, especially in the jungle, because we have Schlaran, who was the MVP of Misfits Premier in the first game, and we have Kirei on the side of Gamers Origin, who was the MVP of the last game they just played. But let's go straight to the bans and picks. We will start actually with the picks because they have already started, and here we see Graves being actually secured very early by Schlaran, and that's a very, very good move for Misfits because this is the champion Schlaran loves and he feels the most confident on him. So this for sure is a very, very good beginning of the picks for them.
Getting answered by Kindred in the same moment. We've seen Schnatzen to do some miracles on that Kindred in the previous game of Misfits that have taken place yesterday. And honestly speaking, I absolutely agree with you that I have my eyes set in the jungle right now because we've seen Schlatten to do some amazing things. He was performing just miraculously in both the first and the second game of Misfits. And Kirei, he is a player that actually knows how do Misfits behave. So it seems like a little bit of a showdown for me. Who knows the opposite team better?
Well, frankly speaking, Kirei used to play with Misfits Premier. He actually played with them in the last season and he won LFL 2020 with Misfits in the last season. So indeed, you're right, that's going to be interesting. What is happening with the picks right now? The mid lane was secured very early as well. That's an early Orianna secured for Gamers Origin and answered by Syndra. But I love the pick of Misfits for Woolite. That Kai'Sa, we know what Woolite is capable of on this champion. And we know just how overpowered she feels right now. So that's a very, very strong pick so far for Misfits. I like it.
And I don't really know what kind of a tank do you answer that to, because thinking about it, Kai'Sa with Kraken Slayer, she can annihilate any tank she sees. So I don't really even know who's going to be quite a good answer to that. Maybe Set is going to be actually not a very bad answer that he's able, because he's able to sustain a little bit of a more damage because of his W. But just thinking about it, Ornn, maybe not. It's quite questionable. Not really sure about here. In the same time, we see Aphelios being locked in. Also, an incredibly good pick for Team GO, because we know that Aphelios feels himself very, very confident in current meta. And it seems like to be a very good answer to Kai'Sa as well, as both teams are now trying to ban some other options for them. And we see a ban of Alistar and Thresh going on. And that is something we particularly know about Yak Troll. Apparently, his name isn't pronounced Jack Troll, but Yak Troll. So I'm going to stick with this Polish pronunciation over here, because we know Yak Troll that he loves to play on those chunky supports. We've seen his Leona, and it was just fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to pull up from his sleeve today.
I really wonder. I was wondering if Leona would be banned by Gamers Origin, because well, we know that this is the champion Yaktrol really loves. However, they decided to go for slightly different champions, but still they're really focusing on trying to stop Yaktrol from just being possibly the MVP of the team. And
what?
Misfits decide to answer them. Misfits decide actually to block Leona on their side, and that is going to be, yes, I was thinking that we would see Maokai. I was pretty sure we would see Maokai. That's a support who feels really good in the current meta. On the bot lane, he is extremely powerful, and he just dominates the bot lane if the enemy team isn't quick enough to do something about it. I'm really looking forward to see. Oh my god, is it going to be Rel? I really hope it's going to be Rel.
Just want to jump back to that Maokai really quick here, because also it is not exactly a support. It's a blind pick towards Misfits, and we know that Maokai can flex because it can be a support. Also, it can be top lane. So that is very interesting, because it was a blind pick from Geo, and Misfits really need to try and understand if they're going to try and answer Maokai as a top laner, or they're going to stick around and think about that this is going to be a bot support. We see Renekton, who's going to be it's going to be a top lane. So they have decided that they're going to answer Maokai with Renekton, and right now that seems to favor Misfits a little bit more, I think.
A little bit more, yeah. That was a very, very safe pick actually from Gamers Origin. Just indeed, as you said, being able to decide in the very last moment what's going to happen. Though I am still not very sure, to be honest. I still vouch for him to go to the bot lane as a support, and it seems that I was right. To be fair, right now he really feels much better on the bot lane, being accompanied by an AD carry instead of being solo on the top lane. And picking him, well, not picking, but having him face Renekton might not be the best situation for Gamers Origin.
Looking right now at, well, I thought here for a second because of this delay of swapping champions, I thought that Misfits are actually looking into playing it around as well to actually send Renekton to the bot lane, and that would have been very interesting and very strange, but you know, who knows, anything can happen. And I just want to point out kudos to Geo, because they have played out this draft very, very interestingly, because they had me absolutely sure that this is going to be Maokai top. And with that Janna appearing in there, you just look at it and you think, yes, this is going to be Maokai top. But Flex up a possibility being opened, they leave everybody into thinking that this is going to be Maokai top, and the same second they just they lock it in, they secure it in the bot lane. And looking at it right now, I'm not really sure how good is he's going to look against Rel, but on the other hand, he has the opportunity to go in much faster than Rel does.
Yes, he has this ability to be at the enemy, at their face exactly much faster than she does. But frankly, I am really looking forward to see how Yaktrol is going to play with this Rel on the bot lane, because this is a new champion. We haven't seen her so far, and she in the game style feels really similar to Leona, who Yaktrol, as we know, loves and plays really nicely. So I think he's going to feel really confident on her too, and I think he is going to try to play aggressively as soon as he hits level 2, because that's most probably when he's going to have that possibility to engage the enemy. That's when he's going to be able to stun them completely. And he is accompanied by Woolite on Kai'Sa again. That's going to be a devastating amount of damage right there on the bot lane.
Absolutely agree right now, because, and honestly speaking, this game seems quite crucial to me, because thinking about it, both teams are going 2-0. We have the similar situation we had yesterday when Misfits were facing KeyCorp. We knew that KeyCorp is a very good team because we have seen them playing against LDLC. I'm very sorry, I have some confusion in pronouncing that team name. I'm so sorry about that. But still, and we've seen them to pull off some very interesting tactics in it. And we've seen that Misfits were capable of understanding how the team is about to play and how to play around it. And now it seems like a little bit of a similar position to me. These two teams are now going toe-to-toe. So it is a question for me, if Misfits, looking right now as probably one of the most powerful team in the LFL right now, if they're going to be able to play around the good sides of Geo as they did it in the game yesterday.
Good question. I have a feeling they might be very able to do so, but I am just looking at that Kirei on that Kindred in the jungle, and my assurance is not 100% anymore. To be honest, I think this is exactly the first champion that Misfits need to be really, really scared of, and I think they are. I think they are they will try to execute the play around the jungle really carefully. They have to, basically, because otherwise they can pay very dearly for it.
My question is, though, when do Misfits want to end their game? If they want to establish early control and try not to drag it out as a long game, or they're going to try and go for the late game and try to outscale their opponents? Because if you think about it, they've got only one champion that is going to scale, well, two champions who are going to scale absolutely devastatingly, and that is the bot lane. And the bot lane is about to dominate this, because the bot lane is extremely powerful. Looking at that Aphelios and looking at that Maokai, when they're going to scale, they are going to be quite a problem for the whole Misfits team. And the rest of the team is scaling also quite nicely, but thinking about it, I don't really know what's going to be best in here, and we see exactly the thing right now that Yaktro is really knows how to utilize his champion as the Flash is being burned away from G2, and this fighting is continuing as Misfits are feeling themselves extremely comfortable. In the same time, we see an amazing dive on the top lane, and the first blood is going to Team Misfits as they're able to pick up some more kills in the bot lane. As we see Kindred arriving at the bot lane, able to secure Warlight. Will be able, Yaktro, to take that Maokai? No, he won't be, as this is a double kill for Team Gamers Origin.
Frankly, kudos to both teams at this very moment, because first of all, exactly as I said before, exactly what happened with Yaktro. As soon as he hits level 2, he knows he needs to go all in, because this is the moment when they are more powerful. With this engage, with this stun, they can just do so much more than Aphelios and Maokai. And they did it. It's unfortunate for them that Kirei was in a very good position to be right next to them and just to go on the bot and secure those 2 kills, which means he's going to be a problem from very early on. But what was happening on the top lane at the very same time, like the timing was absolutely insanely the same on both sides of the map. That was amazing. That was just straight on Raid Boss Tower dive. Just look at it, just going there, not being stopped by anything and knowing that nothing is going to stop them.
And Binso did everything in his power in order to try not to give that first blood, but it wasn't actually enough. And just looking at that bot lane, what concerns me a little is we've been just talking that Gamers Origin have a little bit of a more potential on that bot lane because of that Maokai. And right now, it seems like this potential works only on paper, because looking at Yaktro, the way how confident he feels and how well is he able to handle himself, that is just insane. And even though I look at this Maokai, I look at the Snooks, and I think, okay, they are able to play it out much better than Misfits, it seems like the other way around right now.
Well, Gamers Origin have their... how would I even call it? They are stronger on the bot lane, but they are only stronger on the bot lane because they have Kirei, who is sitting them quite nicely. And right now, that is going to be the first dragon in the game quite early. And this one goes to Gamers Origin. Solo dragon for Kirei, just not being interrupted by anything in the whole world. And a skirmish on the top lane. At the same time, Aggressio just playing to his
and
name.
Here comes teleport from Pack. That means that Oriana is going to join the fray. Aggressive was able to pick up that kill on Binsu, but how gonna you deal with that Oriana? In the same moment, we see Graves already in the fray. That's an ultimate coming from Pack. Will he be able to secure the kill? Yes, he does. He has to burn his flash in order to do that. And in the same second, Sharton realizes that he cannot do anything about it, and he withdraws from that fight.
Quite unfortunate position for Schladen. He is only level 5 and he must know that Kirei is going to be somewhere around, because this is Kirei. He knows where exactly he needs to be, and he was actually at the top side of the map at that very moment in his jungle, ready to jump right there and help Oriana a little bit. But these 2 flashes burnt on the top lane. Aggressivo was actually pretty close to escaping, especially thanks to Schladen. If only he had the ultimate, maybe the situation would have been different. But Pack had his ultimate, Schladen didn't.
Correct, and I'm just looking at it right now, and I'm thinking that I have a feeling I need to punish a little bit, punish Geo here, because when I was looking at the drafts, I was realizing that they're going with, I was thinking that they're about to go with that Maokai to the top lane and try to do some harm on the top lane against Aggressivo, but and it was also a blind pick as much as I have seen it, but they decided to go with Malphite instead. And I'm just looking at it right now. Malphite is extremely not that powerful than the Renekton is in the early game, and I'm just looking at it right now. I'm looking at the top lane, and I see that, well, in the meantime, we're going to see some replay that has happened. In the meantime, we see Certus actually performing an incredible dive right here. Yaktro had to pay with his life for that dive, but that is a double kill for Woolite, and you don't really want to see that. But jumping back to what I was saying moments ago, you know that basically you make Misfits go with a blind pick because they think you're picking Maokai, and they answer it with a Renekton. You have an opportunity to take something that is going to be better than it, and you pick Malphite. yes, it is good for teamfight scaling, but is it good in the laning phase? I'm not exactly sure about that, honestly speaking, because right now I'm looking at Binsu, I'm sorry, and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing a 0-2-1 Malphite, and that doesn't really convince me.
Well, I still don't think that Gamers Origin were very seriously looking at an option to take Makai to the top lane just because he doesn't feel so confident there anymore. But doesn't really matter when we have a skirmish next to the Herald Pit, because Kira is just going very boldly for that objective and aggressively is really trying to stop him. He's joined with Zlatan, who is finally level 7 with his ultimate, and look at what's happening!
And that is an ultimate from Binsu as I take my words back, and we see that Team Gamers Origin are able to turn this around, and they're going to give up on that Herald and leave it to Team Misfits if they're going to try and take it, as even the bot lane have already arrived here in the mid lane to try and secure that Herald for Team Misfits, as Gamers Origin have decided we've taken that Renekton, we can go away.
That's pretty much enough, to be fair. You want to take Aggressivo down, and maybe, potentially, it will pay you even more than taking that objective. What do you think?
Sincerely don't know, because on one side, yes, you really need to help Binsu, but on the other hand, we're talking about goal differences over here. And even though that was a fantastically executed, let's say, some kind of a turnaround of that fight in the Herald Pit, I look at the goal difference, I see 500 gold lead in Misfits, and they have a Herald. That means that it is a potentially 3 turret plates also given to somebody, for example, Vuloid, who's going to be an incredible problem for Malphite, because even though he has a potential to ult and he has a potential to go and basically eliminate Kai'Sa from a team fight, it is still quite a bit of a problem.
We will see. I am really looking forward to the mass team fights in this game, because they are going to be fantastic, but they are going to be a problem for Gamers Origin because of this Woolite, as you just said. He's already going 3-0. He is just feeding himself
3-1.
everything he can take. 3-1, thank you. Yes, indeed. He's just feeding himself everything that he can, and Yaktrol is doing an amazing job just feeding him those skills, because Rel is the champion who is not afraid to die in the beginning of the game. She is the champion who will go all in, and she knows that she will probably die, because as soon as she dismounts her pony, she is unmovable at all. But we have a little pause, but it will fix itself soon indeed, because Woolite is just going in with this insane damage, and he's...
Kirei has to use his ultimate in order to stay alive in the game. We see Orianna also burning her ultimate, and that is an interruption for Malphite, as he, as I said, eliminates Kai'Sa from the game, and we see in the meantime that Ophelia is also being jerked down by that Renekton, but it is still a little bit of a hard problem for Misfits, as they haven't really made it favorable for themselves, as we see 2-1 in favor of Gamers Origin, but it is a Mountain Drake taken successfully by Zlatan.
It is the Mountain Drake, and now Misfits are really telling Gamers Origins that, hey, you are not going to dominate all the objectives, because we will stop you, we will do it successfully. Look at the damage from Woolite, look at that control coming from Yaktrol, and look at that beautiful, beautiful ultimate from Pac. That was insanely good.
I have a feeling, although, that Gamers Origin didn't really plan it that well, because they could have punished Team Misfits more here, but they didn't, because of the fact that Malphite had to burn his ultimate in order just to take that sweet interruption on Kai'Sa. And yes, that is quite a lot of money, and you need to fit that money to Malphite, because he didn't really have a good start. He had a little bit of a rough start. But still, do you really want to burn an ultimate in order to take that killing spree? I'm not exactly sure about that.
I like how in French it says that it's interaction, even though it's a shutdown in English, but I like the word interaction much more, frankly.
Like the word interruption, okay? I like it.
Yes, same here. I vote for using this always, but look at what's happening at the top lane. That might be a very tricky situation for Woolite and Yaktrol, because they will need to back up and try to secure that tower to save it, because there is just so many people around them right now, and I am pretty sure that something is going to happen pretty soon. Just look at Gamers Origins. They're just luring them in for a fight.
From Yaktrol, and we see, why did we call him an MVP in the previous fight? Amazing, absolutely amazing beginning of the fight. fight from Misfits as they continue to chase down that poor Maokai. Here comes an ultimate from Shaihan, but not going to find anybody in here as Maokai is able to disengage, but it doesn't really matter as Team Misfits were able to pick up Kirei in that fight. And can I just point out Yakcho yet again doing exactly why do we love him?
Exactly why we love him. Those initiations are just so good. I love it. Rel is indeed a champion who's played very much like Leona. And we see basically the same playstyle being executed by him in the previous game. And now you just go all in, you use everything you have, and you use it right on time and so successfully that nobody can actually do much because they are just being locked in that stun that you just gave them from your Rel's E. They are being dragged next to you by your ultimate, and at the same time there is Woolite who is always next to his support, just dealing so much damage that you die just like this immediately. That's what happened to Kirei basically, and that was a very good kill for Misfits because they really need to focus their attention on Kirei because otherwise he can be a problem. Even though I am looking at Binsu, he already has 3 kills and he has some gold on his head. That's a good position for him finally.
I still do think that Gamers Origin need to level their game a little, because right now what they're doing is they're giving potential to Team Misfits and especially for Woolite to go and just basically snowball himself into that game, because we've seen Hera being popped on the top lane and we've seen all the turret plates went in the pocket of Woolite. That's a amazing amount of gold, and that is going to be a big problem for Team Gamers Origin in case they don't have something in their sleeve ready to answer to that Kai'Sa, because right now what I see is an incredibly dangerous Kai'Sa.
Incredibly dangerous Kai'Sa and incredibly dangerous Graves, and incredibly bad position for Aggressor because he is being just trapped here on the bot lane with his ultimate from Beans, and Kirei is just following him up, probably being able to take him down. That's an ultimate from Aggressor trying to save himself.
This Aggressor trying to somehow stays alive, was trying to go for Kira as he was dragging attention of Team Gamers Origin onto himself, while Woolite was able to take yet another turret for Team Misfits, and that is objective playing over here. Yes, you went to take Aggressor. Okay, that's why we're going to earn a little bit more gold, take that Herald, and take another objective. Look at it. Top lane is already sitting with only one last turret left between basically Team Misfits and that inhibitor.
And quite possibly that game, but we'll see how it goes on because Gamers Origin are pretty good at actually giving back a fight to Misfits. Misfits are not entirely winning everywhere right now. They still need to be very careful around Kirei, around Binsu, and around Pak's ultimates because they can pretty much change any team fight that will happen. And Gamers Origins really want some team fights. Not possibly right now because Binsu just used his ultimate on the bot lane, taking that Aggressive and taking it nicely. Even though Aggressive tried to turn around in the very last moment, it didn't really help him.
But on the other hand, we see all the rest ultimates being ready for Team Geo, and we've seen just Maokai burning his ultimate in order to zone Team Misfits away, and that secured them that turret, but it's probably not going to secure them from that Drake, as Aggressive is still pulling that turret quite nicely and going in as Team Misfits are able to take that second dragon.
And they will probably go for that soul because so far the last objectives that Misfits have been taking on the map, Gamers Origins had no idea about what was happening. They didn't have any vision on those objectives. They could only guess what Misfits were going to do, and they didn't really have the options to go and try to interrupt them just because they didn't see. That is the thing about Misfits that I like. They know where there is no vision at the enemy, and they try at the same time to vision as much as possible on their side, which they are capable of doing because they have Schladen, who is aggressive, and they have Rel, who secures this possibility to be aggressive in the enemy jungle, because you really don't want to go into anybody who is in your jungle if they are accompanied by a Rel who has E active on someone.
I absolutely agree, and just thinking about it, this is a potential Cloud Soul for Team Misfits at the 28th minute, and you really want that because you have a lot of very, very juicy ultimates that you really want to use in that fight, because looking at it, they have Syndra that can annihilate somebody from the team fight. I'm looking at Kirei right now, I'm looking at Pac, and I'm looking at Imnex as well. And that is an option. That is still an option, because if Kirei won't have enough reaction of himself to use and proc his own ultimate and give either himself or his teammate invulnerability, it's going to be a secured kill only by an ultimate from Certus, and the rest ults on the team is quite powerful as well. So looking at it, they really want to take that Cloud Drake, but looking at GO, they also want that soul, and they want it quite a lot, because there's at minimum 3 ultimates that can change any fight, even if it's most in the worst favors for Team GO, because you have Kirei's invulnerability, you have Pac's Shockwave, and also you have that speedy ultimate from Binsu, and you really want to use them well in the team fights.
To interrupt you for a second, what was happening moments before on the bot lane? That was basically the same situation that happened before. Aggressive is alone on the bot lane, pushing a little bit to the enemy's turret, which is non-existent, but we pretend it's still there. And then look at that Schlattern, oh my god, just looking for this Kirei and almost going for the kill, if not for that ultimate from Kindred. That would have been a kill for Schlattern. Very nicely executed, loved every second of it. But let me quickly finish my sentence. Aggressivo learned from his mistake last time, because he was sitting on the bot lane without any vision, allowing Kindred to just flank him. This time, he knew in advance that she was coming, and that gave him just enough time to back off, be in the safety of his own tower, and Kindred had to back off, and no kill on this raid boss. Crocodile was taken this time. Nicely done, Misfits. You learn really quickly, and that's what I like about you.
On the other hand, I have to give kudos to Kirei, because he knew he needs to be a little bit more sustainable in those fights, and that's why he went for Immortal Shield Bow, and that is helping him to actually stay alive for as long as he can, because we've seen Graves burning everything, including his ultimate, in order to try to get that kill. And even though ultimate from Kirei was required in order to get away from it, Immortal Shield Bow still gave him enough time to get away from it and not die in before Schlattern had to use his ultimate.
Indeed. Look at what's happening right now, by the way. That is a Baron up already in his pit, feeling very safe there. And Schlattern is just going really aggressively, trying to look for an opportunity to go all in, because Misfits really, really want this Baron right now. But Gamer's Origins know what's happening, even though Misfits are yet again good with their vision.
And that is some brilliant outflanking as Schlattern tries to lure somebody in, as we see Yaktro getting inside, trying to get somebody but not able to pick up anybody, as this is a team fight that Gao feel themselves much more better in, but it's still a one-on-one trade, as we see Yaktro being down, but in the same moment, Binsu is also getting away, but Geo are not done yet, as they are not giving an opportunity for Misfits to disengage in there, and they are able to pick up yet another kill, as Schlattern is also going to the base.
Last time I gave kudos to Misfits. This time I need to take these kudos back, because this time there was a little misplay right there from Misfits. Not the best engage from Yaktrol this time, frankly speaking. He was cut alone from everybody else, and even though he turned on his ultimate, this is not the position that Rel wants to be. She can sustain being within everybody in the enemy team, but she cannot sustain it for too long, and everybody else was just too far away from her. Unfortunately, not the best beginning of the fight this time. And look at this solo dragon, yet another solo dragon for Kirei and for Gamer's Origins. They are just not letting Misfits take that early Cloud Soul. Nope, you are not getting it, sis.
And I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, Geo are really, really prepared for that game, because they knew that Misfits are going to do everything in their power in order to try and answer if something is not going according to the plan. And we've seen there that this team fight wasn't really in the favor of Misfits, so they knew that Geo are going to try and go for that Cloud Drake, because they are not interested in giving up. But in the same moment, we see Aggressive on Yaktro probably able to catch up Kirei, as he has to flash away in order not to be killed by Misfits, as Aggressive even burns his ultimate, being completely sure that they're going to be able to pick him up. But that is not true, sir. But I'm just going to trying to finish my sentence because right here, we've seen that Misfits were trying to go for that Baron. Yes, you're taking that Cloud Drake, but we're going to take Baron from you. And right in the same moment, we've seen 2 teleports be burned by Team Geo in order to try and prevent Misfits from taking that dragon. And they did it absolutely successfully. And that just showcases the level of preparation that Geo put in themselves in order to face against Misfits in this game.
They are indeed a very dangerous...
Look at that ultimate from Beanstar. Schlatten is in a very bad position right now. Certus is going to try and help him in that team fight. And Curé has to use his ultimate in order not to be picked up by Certus as he's going away. Both junglers are staying alive because of the help of their teammates. But look at that. Binsu just using every single opportunity that he can to prove me wrong when I was trying to punish G2 for that pick as they were trying to go for that Baron but decide to disengage as both teams are now going to have a little bit of standoff yet again.
I loved what Certus did right here because that was an extremely unfortunate position for Schlatten. Frankly, I was pretty sure he would go down there because he was just completely caught in his own jungle, but Certus managed to just turn away everything so nicely that Kirei, after using his ultimate...
That's a very bold move from Misfits as they're trying to take this Baron, probably going to do quite a bit of damage, but this damage going to be enough as all team members of Team Geo are already here. We see Girei just getting absolutely annihilated because he didn't have his ultimate in order to try to keep himself alive, and that is a Baron play for Team Misfits as they are not able, although to sustain some more damage going for Yaktro as he's also going down. Schlatten extremely low as Misfits are trying to disengage, not going to be an option for Schlatten. He's had to die. Ultimate coming from Binsu as he's trying to do some more damage on Team Misfits. Not going to be able to do that because even though Park is already here, Misfits are doing everything they can in their power in order to disengage from that fight. Although Geo are not done yet, they're trying to chase as much as he can. Look at this amazing stun from Certus as Woolite also in a little bit of an unfavorable position from here as Nukes is trying to catch at least somebody with his ultimate, not able to do so as Binsu going to try to catch Certus but not able to do so as Misfits have absolutely were able to disengage from that tricky and tight position, and only Yaktro had to pay with his life for this.
Absolutely loved that ultimate from Binsu a little bit later in the bush when he just saved the ultimate to just catch 2 members of Misfits and try to punish them as much as possible. He almost managed to do so. Right here again, Yaktro did the same thing that he did in the last fight. A little bit unfortunate position for him because Woolite had his attention on a little bit other things than helping his support, who was trying to help him to do the damage to the enemies who were not able to move too much. A very unfortunate death for Schlatten, who was just waiting for his disengage for as long as possible. And then I loved absolutely how Misfits managed to escape in the end, in what looked like the end for almost whole team. Loved it. But I also really love what Gamers Origins are doing here. They are punishing Misfits for every smallest mistake they make, and they do it really nicely.
And while you are trying to give kudos to Team Geo, I'm going to try and give my own kudos to Team Misfits because that's exactly the way how do you play around Kindred. You know that she has this ultimate, and that ultimate would have been crucial in that fight in the Baron pit because that ultimate could have potentially secured that Baron for Team Geo, but Misfits knew that Kindred has her ultimate. They knew that they can do that easily, and even though Kirei did everything he could in order to try and secure that Baron for his team, it wasn't enough, as we see, though, Geo trying to punish Misfits for playing aggressively, as Binsu is getting in there, trying to do as much damage on Yaktro as he can, as whole team is trying to chase Yaktro, but we see Woolite perfectly juking that ultimate from Pack, as Geo is trying to engage on Woolite, trying to do something about it, but in the same time, we see Drake being taken by Team Misfits, and only one Drake is remaining for them to take that soul. And look at this. Misfits just do really know how to disengage a fight, do they?
And they are leading. They are losing in terms of kills because this is where Gamers Origins are really nicely leading. But the Drakes, but the turrets, first of all, Goal difference. I just noticed. Look at that. Look at that. How can you have 9 to 12 kills and yet still be losing what is 4,000?
Almost 4,000
Almost
gold
4,000
difference.
gold difference.
But I mean, look at their farm. Just look at it. You have Woolite, who's 248 CS. He's 30 creeps more than this Aphelios. And don't forget that he was able to pick up some turrets by himself, and he was able to pick some turret plates in the top lane, as I was talking about. I have tried to drag your attention to that in the early game, and I'm going to do that again. Do not ever let Woolite take all the money in the world as you can, because he knows how to spend it well. Do you want to see somebody just copying reckless? That's Woolite over here.
Don't let him get Gale Force. Don't let him get Collector. Not even starting to talk about Runan. No. Don't let him do it. Also, I actually love this Kraken Slayer on Aphelios. Just let's give man a little kudos, because we haven't seen too much of Aphelios in the fight compared to Woolite. But still, the man has 4 kills already, and he has that really nice Kraken Slayer who can be a real problem for Aggressivo in any next team fight that we will see pretty soon, because the tension is going up. There is only 1 minute and a little bit more left till the next Baron, and guess what? Both teams will try to go for it, and I'm really looking forward to some early words from Gamers Origins. Indeed, here's already the first one. This time they will learn from their small mistakes that they made, and they will try to secure vision in the most important parts of the map as early as possible. Really hoping to see the fight next to the next Baron though. Less than a minute. Let's see how it goes.
It seems like both Geo and Misfits know how crucial this objective is for both of the teams, because Geo, they know how to play their team fight quite well. Certus might be in a little bit of a tight spot here, but no, he clearly knows how to disengage. But still, Geo know how to play around a team fight to get that juicy favorable trade for them, because we've seen that even though Misfits were able to secure an object for themselves, it's still quite good for Geo to know that they can make it an unfavorable trade. Let's say 2-1. And right here, if you take that Baron and you have this trade, that means that you're pretty much giving yourself in a more favorable position than Misfits are in right now, because right now what Geo is trying to do is to keep up, and that's exactly the thing. They're trying to keep up and not to be in the lead. And right now it seems like Geo are about to withdraw from that Baron. I'm not exactly sure how much of a good idea that is, though.
We will see. I'm not really seeing Misfits going directly into the Baron. They might be a little bit scared of what GO have in their pocket right now. And what they have in their pocket is they have Kirei, who is up and who has his ultimate, and Binsu has his ultimate, and Pak does. These 3 ultimates will just completely prevent them from taking that Baron. You know it, they know it. They need to really take a minute, if they have a minute, and think about what they're going to do, what is going to be their next step, because depending on what happens right now, the game can be quickly won by one of the teams, really, because that's a Baron, which Geo are already wandering around really aggressively, and that's going to be a Dragon, which is coming up in just 40 seconds, which can be a potential soul for Misfits. So you need to be careful with each step you take in the game right now.
It seems right now that Geo is trying to do a very clever thing in here, because they are trying to put Misfits in a position when they have to choose. What do you want more? Do you want that soul, or do you want that Baron? And depending on the choice that Geo is about to make, they are going to act accordingly to that choice. And we see Schlatten actually being caught a little bit in his own jungle, and that is the key idea. They know that Baron might be a little bit more bad for them in the end than giving up that Cloud Drake, and it seems like Misfits do that know as well, as it's going to be a bad fight here in the Baron, pit, and Schlatten is actually a little bit in the misposition as he withdraws Team Geo dragging their attention onto themselves, and that is not going to be exactly a fight right now, as Geo have to reset that Baron, that they're going to try and do it again, as Schlatten is probably going to get himself in a little bit of a more favorable position right now, and Yakcho is already there, lurking in the shadows, getting ready in order to get into the fight, and he is actually able to outflank every single member of Geo and getting inside of it, as we see ultimates being absolutely burned. Yakcho has to pay with his life because Aphelios is able to pick him up, but Aggressivo taken into the fray, even though there was an ultimate from Kindred. It's not going to be enough, as 2 members of Geo are instantly killed. Backpack is able to get Bullite with himself to the grave, as we see Team Misfits and Geo 3-on-3. What's going to be the next move? And it seems like Misfits are going to disengage and take that Cloud Drake, but Geo are not exactly agree with that, as Oriana does an extremely aggressive teleport, but Aggressivo is not able to punish her for that, and Pack is giving quite a lot of damage to Aggressivo, as right now they're probably going to try to prevent Team Misfits from taking that dragon, although I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be able to do that in time, because quite a lot of damage going to that Cloud Drake. Already here, all team members of Team Geo, but they're not there quite in time, as that is a Cloud Soul for Team Misfits.
Kudos to Misfits. Really, this time, big kudos to them. Even though the fight in the Baron Pit was pretty fair, I loved that engage from Rel. Just absolutely stole my heart completely. And look at that, another engage coming from him.
Interruption from Aphelios, as that is a kill for Schlatten, as he punishes Team Geo, going around without enough amount of vision in there, and it seems like they're going to capitalize on that opportunity, as this is going to be a Baron for Team Misfits, and I don't really think that Geo will be able to do anything about this, as Kirei is not really looking forward to try to steal that Baron, as he doesn't have an ultimate, and that is, yet again, that's exactly what I've been talking about, how to play around Kindred. You know she has an ultimate burned because she tried to save her teammate and herself in that fight in the Baron Pit. You know that. You know she's not going to try to steal it away, because Kirei knows he can't do that without his ultimate. So what do? They just go and take it.
They go and take it, and they go and take it completely unpunished. Though this fight wasn't exactly 100% cleanly executed from Misfits, to be fair. This time Schlatten in the very beginning did very nice work, just dragging away the attention from the whole game's origins, but once again, look at how much is happening just in this small Baron Pit. That ultimate from Kindred saved his team, frankly, and Aggressivo was
to
not
drag
quick
your
enough
attention
to go in
to
there.
the game, though, because look at this. We've seen a little bit of the thing right now as we were looking at that replay, and it seems like Misfits are going to be probably get caught by Team Geo, as we see Binso just interested in using his ultimate to try and engage into the fight right now. But Certus is also coming here to join the fray and join the fight with the rest of his team, as Team Misfits are slowly but surely pushing under that tower, and Binsu finally using his ultimate in order to catch somebody from Team Misfits, as that is yet another ultimate also coming from Maokai, as we see damage being done to everybody, just punching each other to the face until you will draw some blood, but no blood is drawn as Team Misfits disengage from the fight. And look at this! Also, minions almost destroying that turret in the bot lane, and it seems like Team Misfits are not exactly done yet, as Geo are trying to defend their base as much as they can, and you just see Woolite standing there, just staring down at Geo, knowing that they cannot go away far from that top lane.
They cannot. I am exactly what I've been looking for. Look at that aggressive on the bot lane. That's a little bit of split push. They need to divide their attention now between the two lanes, and with the Baron buff still up for 40 more seconds, they are in a very bad position, because it seems like they are going to lose at least one inhibitor. That is what it seems to me, and that's a tower going down finally on the bot lane as more members of GU are going down, and this gives Misfits the opening to destroy the second tower on their base and go for that support.
Nuke is getting nuked as we see Team Misfits trying to do some more damage. Warlight absolutely perfectly juking that ultimate from Binsu as they're going to disengage and not going to try to take that inhibitor because it's going to be a little bit of a problem for them. But you see Certus and aggressive damage is being done as we see one inhibitor falling on the bot side of Team Geo's base, and we see yet another turret getting go as this is a little bit of a tight spot for Team Geo. Aggressive is getting caught by Team Geo but not able to do much damage. Look at Yaktrol, extremely low. He has to disengage in order to do something about it. Woolite is doing an immense amount of damage, just picking up Enix, just destroying here as we see more fighting going on. Even though there is an ultimate from Kirei, it's going to be enough. No, it's not going to be enough. That is a triple kill for Woolite, standing on the last drops of his HP. Nukes is the only man left standing to try and defend his base. He's going to take Schlatter with himself to the grave, but he's not going to prevent Team Misfits establishing themselves with 3-0 and taking that win into their pocket.
Establishing their dominance once again. Kudos to Misfits. Polska Gurum, that was incredible game. I loved every second of it, frankly, but those last fights on Gamers Origin Space were just so perfectly executed. Finally, we saw indeed what Misfits are so good at micromanaging everything that is happening in those pretty complex team fights. And to be fair, this time my MVP spot is a little bit divided between both bot laners. I am just looking at that Woolite, at the beautiful triple kill in the end, at that insane amount of damage and this understanding of what the enemies are going to do at every moment of the game, be it just laning, be it engaging the enemy jungle, be it a beautiful team fight 5-5, doesn't matter. He always knows what's happening. And Yaktrol, even though he made a few mistakes because Rel is still a little bit less secure, being split, being separated from her team, unlike Leona, who still has her ultimate. Rel is a little bit more vulnerable when she is not being accompanied by her ADC to do the damage. Still, those engages from him, just boldly going in, dismounting and taking as much as possible, that was still beautiful. For me, those two take the MVP spot for me, and I cannot decide for life who would be the winner among them two.
Honestly, right now, I'm divided from Yaktrol and Schlatter, honestly speaking, because looking at the way he managed his jungle against the former player of Misfits, it's actually quite fantastic because we've seen Kirei playing it very well and knowing the weak and powerful sides of Kindred, but still, we've seen Graves to come on top out of almost every single situation that we've seen in the game. And even though Woolite was doing a lot of damage and a lot of difference, he put a lot of difference into this game, I still favor Yaktrol a little bit more than him. But right now, I feel divided as well, but not between the bot laners, but between the jungle and the support, because both members of Team Misfits have played their role so nicely in here that I'm lost here, honestly.
And I perfectly understand you, to be fair, but that was a beautiful game. A very, very challenging one for Misfits, especially with that jungle with Kirei, just knowing exactly what he's doing, knowing what's going on, and making Misfits just pay for every mistake they made. And frankly, Misfits did quite a few mistakes here and there, and they were paying for it very dearly. Like that time when Aggressio was caught on the bot lane, like those fights in the Baron pit. Really, you see Kirei knowing what he's doing and knowing how to play from just any situation in the game. Kudos to him. But in the end, what is happening? Misfits are taking that sweet, sweet spot. They are taking yet another win for them, and they seem to be unstoppable in this LFL. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with you, and I am going to be absolutely honest when I say this. I have my eyes set on Team Misfits, and I'm really looking forward to some more games against Geo and against K-Corp, because we've seen these two teams being able to do at least something about them. And even though Misfits are trying to play everything as clean as possible, we still have seen K-Corp and Geo doing some very good damage to Misfits. And I'm really looking forward to all the matches that are going to happen between those three teams, because it's going to be just fantastic. I am sure of it.
I am very sure of it too. And we will for sure have great time casting those games for you, and we hope that you will have just as great time watching those games with us. My name was Solari. I was accompanied today, as always, by Brilman. We will see you in the next game. Thank you very much. Dziękujemy. Have a safe evening, everybody.